These guys ran really well with an Albilus blower in previous years and strapped that thing back on to bring it out here for the 4 wides this weekend at home.
You know, and Stan was the first screw-blown car to show up here last year when they made the rules change at that point, and then he made that final quad. Didn't go his way at the final round last year, but see Marcus Birt's car has apparently had some contact. He got some scraping on the front end there. And again, from our vantage point in this announcing booth way down deep in the racetrack, we can see very little, and we see some liquid actually out underneath the front end of the car there if you're looking on our screen.
Or is that one?
So the safety safari is looking at the front tire there. It does look like he is pulled off. He's no longer on the course. He's going to take the nose off the car. Wow, if you can look there, you can see that the housing of the supercharger itself is annihilated.
I got a feeling it looks like fuel. It looks like alcohol. It looks like it because the fuel pump on these things is driven remotely off of the gear drive that drives the blower. That's all one unit, and it looks like it may have cut a fuel line when the blower exploded.
Yeah, you can look down there in the Sunoco vision and see that housing, and you can see where the impeller should be. It is just not there. I mean, it is gone.
And I'm assuming that a piece of that shrapnel is also what cut the driver's side front tire as well. But that's Brian, I'll be honest, I've never seen that.
Rarity. You and I have been around this sport a very long time. I've never seen that. Period.
I raced 2/3 of my rookie season in a Pro Charge car. Occasionally, you heard, just like in any of these parts in any of these engines in these race cars, they go through. There's attrition on them, and things happen, and you see them touch down, and some things happen to blowers. But that's a first for me. I've never seen that.
And I've been out to their facility out just outside of Kansas City, and it is an amazingly high tech place, and they spend a lot of time doing R&D work and stuff. And I guarantee you, the engineers are going to want to get their hands on that and get a look at it. But as you can see. There's an active evacuation of methanol happening. At least it looks to me like methanol coming out of the bottom of that fuel line. Yeah. Just when you think you've seen it all.
Never have I seen one come apart quite like that. And that, before they pulled the nose off, we could see some damage, and we're kind of confused. Like, did he hit something? Yeah, it looked like the tire was flat, which would have meant he was in the brakes hard. They pulled the nose off, and there's nothing but the shell of a Pro Charger, Supercharger left on the front of that thing.
When we looked at it, it was kind of dented from the inside out. It's like when I go down the highway and I see a van with no windows in it, I always make sure there's no dents from the inside of the body outward.
Yeah.
If there are, I call the cops.
Might need to duck.
But in this case, we were looking at the nose, and it was, all right, we got a replay here thanks to our ace NHRA production team. You can look at our NHRA.TV replay. Doug Werner's had immediate problems there. You see the car is very delayed leaving, and then it breaks traction. Now let's watch Marcus Birt. He's in lane number 2, so he's the middle car here. And he's going to go across the finish line. Everything appears to be kosher at this point. And then it isn't. You can see the pieces coming out of there as the car was decelerating past the finish line. You would expect when that thing, if it was going to have that problem, it would be at max RPM.
Well, and that's what you don't know was the throttle hung. A lot of the times the damage to those blowers comes from just simply being over revved.
Okay.
So there's been a gear reduction by the NHRA to speed up and slow those blowers down, which obviously directly affects how much power they make and whatnot. But if you overspin one of those things, it is not good to them. And when I say when you overspin one, if they say 72,000, you don't turn it 72,500.
Well, and that goes for turbochargers. That goes for really any sort of reciprocating device, right? But yeah, to your point, and you're talking about an impeller in that thing that's 100 millimeters plus in size.
Yep.
So
and spinning, and like I said, spinning 70 plus thousand revolutions per minute. So if the throttle was hung and that thing continued to rev, more than likely I would have thought you would have saw more engine damage than that, but just tough to say. They'll have to go back and look at some data for sure.
So your opinion, if it's your team and you're making the call, do you pull the whole motor out of it because you don't know if anything got into it?
Well, I don't know how much you know about Jose Gonzalez, but that is exactly what he would say. Yard sell the entire driveline, boys. We're putting new stuff in.
Yeah.
Probably so. You just don't know how much, when that impeller and that blower, the shaft, the impeller itself came apart, how much of that got in the engine before the throttle blade was shut. So I would say that, knowing the Proline guys, Steve, Petty, Tim, all the guys, Jose, that work on that deal, I would say that they yard sell the entire driveline and start over.